Here's what else change means. Change means getting serious about energy. Now, John McCain and I actually agree on something. He said the other day that the reason we hadn't seen progress on energy is because for 30 years, politicians in Washington hadn't done anything except the bidding of the oil companies, the gas companies, and the special interests. He's right about that, except he's been there for 26 of those 30 years. And he hasn't done anything. During that period, he said no to alternative energy, no to biofuels. We need somebody who recognizes that our future is at stake. If we don't fix our energy problems now, then we are going to forfeit. We're going to forfeit our competitive edge into the future, and we are going to be dependent on rogue nations for our oil. That's an unacceptable future. So I know that a lot of people during the summer months when the gas prices had peaked suddenly started focusing on this. We don't need to just focus on it 1 or 2 months during the summer. This has got to be a sustained effort over 10 years. And yes, we need increased production. Yes, we need increased production, but when I hear those folks in Minneapolis chanting "drill, baby, drill," then you get a sense that they don't understand the scale of the problem. We've got 3% of the world's oil reserves, and we use 25% of the world's oil. So yes, we need to find new sources of oil here in the United States, but we can't drill our way out of the problem. And that's why what I've said is we are going to develop alternative energy, spending $15 billion a year in solar and wind and biodiesel and hydrocarbon. And we're going to create, and we need to create the cars of the future right here in the United States. The electric cars, the hybrid vehicles, the vehicles running on natural gas, those need to be developed not in Japan, not in South Korea, but right here in the United States of America, and it can be done. That's the change we need. We need somebody who actually does pay attention to education, because America's future depends on how we educate our kids. And that's why we're going to invest in early childhood education. That's why we're going to pay our teachers more money and give them more support. And that's why we're going to make sure that every young person in America, in exchange for community service, is going to get their tuition to go to college. That is my priority as president. And even as we're meeting challenges at home, we're going to have to meet challenges abroad. Now, John McCain suggests that his time in Washington has made him best equipped to deal with the national security threats that we face. And those threats are real. But I think the American people understand that what's needed is good judgment, and I am happy to have a debate with John McCain about his judgment and mine. Because he was wrong on Iraq. He was wrong to be distracted from Afghanistan. Instead of chasing bin Laden to the gates of hell, we should have been chasing him in Afghanistan and in the hills between Afghanistan and Pakistan. I am happy to have a debate with John McCain about national security. As president, I will not hesitate to strike against those who will do us harm. But I want us to use our military wisely. And I will not send our troops in to undefined missions that are not in our national interest, with inadequate equipment and inadequate training. And I will make a solemn vow to treat our veterans with the honor and respect that they deserve when they come home. So listen, John McCain's not going to change our economic policies. He's not going to change our tax policies, our health care policies, our education policies. He's not going to change our foreign policy. And because lobbyists are running his campaign, it's hard to believe that suddenly he's going to change the lobbyist culture in Washington. But when I say that I'm going to change that culture, you can look at what I've done in the past. When I was in Illinois, I passed the toughest ethics reform in 25 years there, despite the opposition of Democrats and Republicans. When I got to Washington, I passed the toughest ethics reform legislation since Watergate, despite opposition from members of my own party. I don't take PAC money. I don't take money from lobbyists. They have not funded my campaign. They will not run my White House, and they will not drown out the voices of the American people when I'm President of the United States of America. So we've got a choice in this election, and the choice could not be clearer. And it's because the choice is so clear that you've seen the other side not want to spend any time talking about the issues. I mean, what have they been talking about? They've been talking about lipstick. They've been talking about pigs. They've been talking about Brittany. They've been talking about Paris. They will spend any amount of money and use any tactic out there in order to avoid talking about how we're going to move America into the future. And so, listen, the truth is, though, this has worked in the past. It worked 4 years ago. It worked 8 years ago. They tried it 12 years ago, and they tried it 16 years ago. And it worked 20 years ago. This is standard operating procedure. So one of the challenges that we face is recognizing that the same old politics just won't do this time out. We've got to be able to focus on what matters in this election. These are serious times, and it requires a serious debate. And that's where you come in. Because I may not have the lobbyists, but I've got you. All across America. All across America, people have stood up in this campaign, and they have gotten involved in ways that we could have never imagined. People have knocked on doors, they've made phone calls, they have attended town hall meetings, they've recruited their friends and their neighbors. And that's what we've built, is a movement for change. And when the American people decide that now is the time to bring about real change in America, nothing can stop them. Nothing can stop the American people when they are unified. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, young, old, rich, poor, Democrats and independents and Republicans deciding that we are going to transform this country so that we give a better life to our children and our grandchildren. That's what we're fighting for. That's what's at stake. And if you'll stand with me and work with me for just 2 more months, then I promise you we'll win New Hampshire. We'll win the general election. And you and I together, we're going to change the country and change the world. Thank you, everybody. God bless you.